Yo, GD here, and as you can see, we are back with some league racing action. This time for the GASR series, round 9 at Austria. These are the current standings coming into this round, and you can see, I believe we were about 32 points behind, Carl 24 at this stage. So with 10 rounds to go, still plenty of points on the table, but I need to start outscoring him because he is a very consistent and also a very fast driver as well. But as you can see by the title of this video, there are the likes of Danny Van Rooten, Brawny, NRL Tom. These are some of the fastest drivers on PlayStation, especially this Danny Van Rooten, who seems to be arguably the fastest driver on PlayStation right now if you look at him in PSGL. So yeah, very crucial. So I did quite a bit of practice coming to this. I actually felt very prepared, did some wet practice as well. And you can see it's actually inters for the first part of this qualifying session. So it's Q1, Q2, Q3. And you can see the track is just getting quicker and quicker. See Carl just pipping me there. So the key is to be ideally the last man across the line. Halfway through the session, it actually started to cross over between the inters and the dries. However, good thing is that I did some practice on the intermediates. So I knew the inters are actually still a good tyre. Even if it's a dry track, you can still do quite good. So we only had one lap to do this. So on this lap here, not showing the whole one, just making sure I don't invalidate. And I knew there was a lot of people who went on the intermediates. There's only a few people who went on the soft. So I knew what I had to do was a good lap on the inters. And I should be through. And I come across the line. Yeah,
we were on the wrong tyre.
And yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but I was pretty confident that would put me through.
So.
But you are about to see something just now.
Fastest in inters, and everyone ahead of me was on dryers, so... Where's Carl? Is he on the lap? What? Has Carl been knocked out? Where is he? Oh shit, did he invalidate? Oh shit. So that's my championship rival. Carl is going to be starting P18.
And yeah, Carl, went out on the dry tyres, which was the fastest tyre at the time, but he invalidated, and that is the risk when you're crossing over in that period. Although the dry tyre is the quickest, it's often very hard to hook up. So he's starting P18, and although it's very bad for him, it's very good for me because we need to capitalise on this now. Although I felt confident that he would probably be coming through the field, I need to be getting as good result as I possibly can. So this is my Q3 lap. As you can see, we managed to get into the Q3 quite comfortably. I actually had 3 softs to use as well. And looking back at this lap, actually a little bit disappointed, but it's not essential to be on pole. My PB was a 103.1 going to this, so the setup was working really well. Particularly tuned for the race as always. And if you'd like access to this setup, make sure you hit that join button, become a YouTube member, and then join my Discord, because I actually upload these setups the day after the race. And I think this is arguably my best race setup that I've used so far. And on this qualifying lap, you can see we lost quite a bit of time in the second sector, almost like a 10th down. And you'll see going through this last sector, we actually made up quite a bit of time with purple middle sector. And I felt like I could have hooked up this lap much better. But the key is really just to be in that top 3 or 4. As long as I'm there, this track is quite easy to overtake on, so you don't need to be essentially on pole, but you can see we actually are improving our time. We're going across the line.
Oh, that is enough for P2.
Oh, temporarily P2, but then we do get demoted to P3 with Danny doing a 3.2, Brawny doing almost the same time as me. So that actually gave me quite a bit of confidence. I felt like if I could start near the front, then this setup was really going to come into its element when it comes into the race. So now we've got 4 lights, 5 lights, and the key now is just not damage limitation, but just maximizing Carl's misfortune in that Q1, because he's going to be starting back all the way back down in P18. So just getting through this turn 1. And if you take a little look at this minimap, you're going to see a McLaren at the very bottom of your screen. That is Kyle, and he has actually made a bit of an incident in that first lap where he has suffered some wing damage. So Carl's race is almost effectively over. There's a safety car that could save him, but you can see he is right at the very back at the pack at the moment. Right here now, I'm just battling a little bit of Brawny, but not fighting too hard. Don't want this Danny to get away because he does have the pace to potentially go off at the distance. But as the laps go by, we were just getting more and more comfortable, and a bit difficult to watch this race back really without spoiling it too much. I just felt like I had so much pace in this race, and with this up and running here, it's very quick in the straight line, quite easy to save ERS behind people, very good on the traction, and as the tyres go off, I felt like I was actually becoming stronger and stronger against competition. But you can see NOL Tom behind is just trying to fight for his position quite a bit, so I could already tell he's going to be attacking me at any opportunity, so it doesn't give me much time to rest. But right here now, we are exactly where we want to be, right in this lead train. And if we can win this race, because you can see, look at the mini-map, look at that McLaren, that is Carl all the way in almost second to last place, I believe he is at the time. So Carl is not having a good race, and looks like he's not going to be getting any points. So if we can win this race, get 25 points, it's going to be 7 points difference between us in the championship, and that is going to be a big comeback. So in my mind here, it was just taking it one lap at a time and just doing the absolute maximum I can. Don't need to be taking too many risks because we are going to be eating into this championship lead, but just make sure we finish and make sure we get no damage. And I say that, but we actually go 3 wide into this turn 2/3, and we're going to be losing out on the exit. And this is a little bit of a hairy situation because I don't want to be overtaken by 2 or 3 cars here, having to block Almin on this inside. And so we've gone down from P1 down to P4, and our Tom is on my outside. We don't have much ERS to use, so gotta have to concede this place, swap back in behind, and then resave the battery. But I think you'll just see, particularly this first stint, I just felt like I could stay so close to the car ahead of me. Felt like I had so much traction, so much stability, and again, the more this race went on, the more the tyres worn, I felt the stronger I became against my rivals, because I will be showing a couple of onboards from the likes of Danny Van Rooten, where towards the end of the stint, I felt like he was really struggling with his tyres, and discussing it after the race as well, he said he was really struggling with oversteer. Was with me, I felt like the car was almost just coming to me as this race was continuing. So yeah, right here now, just making sure we aren't going to put ourselves back into that 5th place. Wanted to be ideally the top 2 all the time, so go down the inside of NOL Tom, and the racing I had with everyone here was very respectful. Just trying to get ahead of him because I felt like I had the pace in him. So I wanted to make sure I'm in the mix with Danny and Brawny up ahead. And we've managed to get back just about into this P3 slot. But as the laps go on again, you can see we're just able to really attack the cars up ahead of me. Able to save the ERS, and don't think Tom is going to be attacking me this lap, but you can just see how fast we are in a straight line as well. So just letting these two fight amongst themselves just a little bit, just really focusing on the exit. Gonna have to defend from Tom once again because he always liked to try and attack me as much as possible after a second DRS straight. So yeah, just making sure we don't get any damage at this stage. We don't need to be securing our position exactly because we still have plenty of the race to go, but just making sure I look after my tyres. And you guys see again, just felt like it was very comfortable with me to stay with these drivers. 2 of the drivers who are, again, probably some of the fastest drivers on PlayStation as well. It just felt like the race, the more went on, just the more comfortable I became. Tom's attacking me once again to go down the inside of Brawny, and that forces him to go off the track because he was actually going right into the back of Danny. And now we're up into P2, and now we can have a little bit of breathing room and see what our pace really is. Just trying to give the slipstream to Tom, but I think Brawny is going to be staying up ahead of him. And yeah, we are exactly where we want to be now. So ideally, 1st or 2nd is the pace that I wanted to be. So moving on to lap 9 again, just able to follow so closely, getting a really good exit coming off here. You can see we back up to 80% of the battery as well, and you'll see here, not going for the overtake because the DRS is on the exit, so just kind of compromising a little bit through this corner and just using him as a shield to the guys behind. So DRS is very powerful around here, and that's something you'll see during this video. And you can see going down to here, this is a very comfortable overtake, and now we're up into the lead of the race. I think it's the first time I was in the lead of the race, and let's see what we can do. And You can see again Tom attacking the drivers up ahead of him, which kind of forces Danny to be overtaking me. So we have to leave a little bit of room on this inside. But I think this is about to demonstrate how much pace I had in a straight line with this setup. So you can see even with the DRS, they're not even actually able to overtake me. So we're going to let Danny through here, because the key is just to really try and use each other to drive away. You can see we've got a little bit of a gap to the guy in P6. I think it's the top 5 are kind of in a pack of their own. And then in P6 down, you can see there's a little bit of a gap. So yeah, just making sure we're not battling too much to bring the others back into contention. But you can see here on lap 11, this is kind of the stage where people are starting to think of pitting. But for me, my tyres felt really, really good. And again, not going for the move here, just kind of half defending from Tom, kind of forcing Danny to be a little bit compromised for his corner. But again, you're going to see on the exit with the DRS, we are just very, very fast in a straight line. And again, I don't think we're going to go for the overtake here. No real point at this stage. So just trying to race smartly. But you can see how easily we can stay with him. So normally Deltier is a little bit of a factor in this game, but for me, wasn't really struggling with that at all. See, Tom is attacking me once again, so kind of have to go for this overtake now. Kind of forced to go into the lead. And we've got about 90% of the ERS, so we can use a little bit of the ERS on the exit. And I think Danny, who is a very, very smart driver, he decides not to overtake me. And let's see what kind of pace we have up in the lead. But lap 12 now, this is where some people will decide to pit, and that's something you're going to see on the minimap. So if you pay attention to that, on the left-hand side of the screen, I believe it's Tom, Almin, and Brawny who decide to pit this lap. And when it comes to the pit entry, I think this is something that had a major, major impact in the race, because for me, as you just look at that minimap now, you can see all the guys behind, except for me and Danny, have decided to go into the pits. And for me, that was very, very early, because my tyres felt really good at this stage. But yeah, with the pit entry, normally in a lot of things I've done, you have to obey the pit line when you're going into the pits, which if you do that, you're going to be losing a lot of time. I did ask the coordinator before the race, do we have to do that? And they said to me that you have to keep one wheel within track limits. And unfortunately, I took that as if you have to do it within the pit lane line. But you will see, and this is a mistake on my part because it was confirmed 10 minutes before the race, that you could actually take it any way you want. So you could actually just completely cut across the track. As long as you're within the complete track limits, not just the pit lane, you'll be absolutely fine. So yeah, what you're about to see here, you'll see this is kind of a little bit of an example of my pace. So up into the lead, you can see Danny is struggling a little bit with the oversteer, and you can just see he's not able to follow anywhere near as close as what I was doing to him. And you can see we're actually making a little bit of a gap. But I think you're about to see now he is going to go into the pits. Or no, he doesn't. He actually decides to continue for another lap. But you can see again, I think this just shows the pace that I definitely did have. But lap 16 now, you can see NOR Tom, who has pitted, has done the fastest lap of a 6-1. But I was kind of confident in my pace, because when I was practicing, I was doing very low 6s without any DRS. So I felt very confident, even though we would be undercutted, that I would be able to catch back up with the fresher tyres, something I always like to do. And yeah, I felt at this stage of the race, we are really within the box seat. But I think this is almost a deciding factor of my race right here, because as I was just saying with the pit lane rules, I was under the impression that you had to obey it, but it was confirmed 10 minutes before the race in the main chat, which unfortunately no one was tagged and I wasn't notified. Because you're about to see, this is Danny's pit entry, and this is perfectly legal. It was confirmed just before the race. This is something I wasn't aware of. So you can see when he's going to the pits now, he doesn't obey that pit lane line and staying within track limits. So basically, you could cut it as much as you want, go to pits. And if you look at his lap time, as he's come across the line, he's done a 9.9. So yeah, pay attention to that. When I go into the pits, I was under the impression that you had to obey this pit lane line. So when I'm going to the pits here, I'm taking it very, very cautiously. So I thought you couldn't cut across the line. You had to stay 4 wheels within this, or at least 1 wheel within this. And this really, really cost me a lot of time. So considering the undercut the guys are going to get on me, but also coming into the pits, you will see instead of a 9.9, I've done an 11.0, so that's well over a second a lap slower just on the pit entry alone. So yeah, that combined with the undercut, that has actually cost me a lot of time, and you will see towards the end of this race, I believe that actually did play a big part in terms of how this race played out. So you can see the guys who pitted 2 or 3 laps before, you can see they got massive undercut, and Danny has come out about 2.7 seconds, so about 3 seconds ahead of me. So without that, I think we would have come out about 2 seconds behind, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I think it will make a big difference. And really, for the rest of this race, I was kind of kicking myself because I just don't think I should have pitted that late. But at this point, I was actually still really confident in my pace. I felt like once Danny would be catching that lead pack, they have 3 or 4 lap older tyres, and then they would be battling so much, because in the first stint, compared to what I was doing in practice in terms of lap time, I was actually going a lot faster in the practice. So I was very confident with this fresher tyre and just with my pace and then battling. I felt like I would be able to catch up really easily. But you're about to see Danny here making quick work of the people up ahead of him. And you can see he's already about 1.6 seconds behind the lead pack. And you will see in terms of my lap time, what was I doing here? So I was doing like a 6.0. So I was doing very low sixes all the time. And you can see we're going to be catching just a couple of people here. So now I actually catch our boys, and this is not the easiest of pass. I was expecting him to maybe just pull over a little bit, but having to fight for this one just a little bit. You can see the gap now is 4.9 seconds to the lead pack. So we have 14 laps of this race to go. I felt like that was definitely plenty of time, because I felt like I'd be a lot faster than all these guys up ahead, considering how my tyres felt in the first stint. When their tyres are going off towards the end, I thought this would be really good. But you can see Danny make some seriously quick work of everyone up here. And again, I think this was a big factor in the race. He's a very smart driver as well. And again, discussing after the race, he knows that I also have the pace, but he also knows people like Almin, Brawny, and Tom, who have older tyres, they are going to be much slower. So I think he knew that he needs to be dragging these guys along, because if he stays behind these guys or they end up batting quite a lot, then I'm actually going to catch up really quickly, because they were doing kind of like mid-sixes. You can see with the DRS here, and that's benefiting really well. But the thing I kind of underestimated is just this power of the DRS, because right now I'm in no man's land, and all these guys here, they're able to kind of keep overtaking each other. So one lap someone pushes, overtakes with the DRS, and then the other lap they could just save the ERS and then overtake again. And with me, I don't have that luxury at all, and I think the DRS is very underestimated. And in reality, looking back at this race, I just didn't need to go that extra lap. I felt like that was a very big mistake on my part. I should have just followed Danny into the pits, or maybe even just pit the lap before. And because a lap older tyres with halves isn't going to make the world of difference. So you can see they're doing like a 6.2, a 6.3 here, and when I'm going across the line without the DRS or anything at all, so this is having no DRS at all, you can see we've just done a 6.3, almost a 6.2. So Danny has only a lap older tyres than me, but you can see this is what is working in their favour. They're able to work together. So one lap someone leads with the DRS, pushes with the battery, then they let the other guy pass. It's kind of like cycling, just using each other in the slipstream. One person leads one lap, the other leads on the other lap, and then that actually causes them to keep using their ERS and not lose time. With me, I just don't have anyone to do that with, so I'm having to rely completely on my raw pace, and it's much harder for me to save the battery when I don't get to DRS someone, let them back pass, recover the battery, and then go again. So yeah, kind of kicking myself that I went for extra lap, because I thought they would be batting much more. But again, speaking to Danny after the race, he knew that he had to be the guy in the lead. You can see he's actually trying to break out of the DRS here, which is only just dragging him along. So he's done a 6.5 despite him having ERS and DRS at that. And again, when I'm in clear air without the DRS at all, we're doing like a very low 6. So the pace I'm doing for clean air without DRS is actually really good. But you can see with the battery, we just aren't able to save any battery. I have to keep it in medium, have to put it in none in the corners. Whereas these guys, they could just keep on DRSing each other, taking turns of using the battery, dragging each other along. I just can't be doing that. But you can see we are starting to close in, but Danny is still leading this race because he knows he needs to drag these guys along. If he was in second or third place and he was just sitting behind them, then I think I would have actually been on the back of these guys already really, really quickly. And I think this is another part of the race that definitely cost me a little bit of miscommunication. So you can see Schumacher was able to stay with me despite pitting much earlier than me, which again shows freshness of tyres doesn't really matter. And right here, I wanted to stay behind him so I could save the battery.
Oh no, go.
And yeah, you're about to see here. I don't think he quite got the memo, so I wanted him to actually keep pushing this up, so then I could save the battery and then really push the next lap, because then you could just, although you might lose 2 or 3 tenths, you could then gain like half a second pushing the battery. But skipping on to the last lap now, you can see we're 1.8 seconds away from being up on the back of this train, losing quite a bit of time behind Schumacher there. And I think this goes back to the pit lane. If I was able to, or if I had the knowledge prior to the race of knowing that I could cut this pit lane, and because I think it was just a miscommunication between me and the coordinator, he said you have to keep one wheel within track limits at all times. I thought he meant the pit lane line. But again, that's really on me. Didn't check the chat before the race, because usually around here it's kind of the normal rule that you have to be within the pit lane. So no, that 1 second difference that would have put me within this DRS train, could have put me there 2 or 3 laps earlier. And yeah, I felt like if I was within this train, like the first stint, I think we had the straight line speed, and I really do feel like I had the pace to actually win this race. But yeah, we were just in no man's land. We had no one to use for ERS, for DRS, and coming across the line, you can see another lap, or right here, we would have been within that DRS zone.
Fucking terrible. Why did I pits? Man,
And yeah, I just think, for me, not that I was cocky, but I felt like I just had enough pace. I was kind of banking them on working, or banking on them to be fighting each other, not Danny dragging them along. And I think if Danny was dragging them along, I think I would have got up to there quite quickly. But overall, a lot of positives to take. I think my pace was really, really good. Probably one of the strongest it's been so far. I feel like I'm making setups that work really, really well for me. And you know, you'll see the results. Carl didn't get in the points. He had damage on a lap 1 incident. So we actually still capitalized quite well. So next race is going to be a mystery track. It could be any of 5 tracks, which I will be live streaming this Sunday. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.